So, see, now, okay, is so important to what? To start putting one-on-one together. And I told all of you that uh you are in fact, let me just give us some more gossip. Before this class started, there was somebody who was talking, I think he was talking to either his wife or his girlfriend, and he was like, hey, the class is starting in 2 minutes, okay? I'll call you back when I'm done. And yeah, I love you. I love you. And I was like, okay. You know what I mean? So we are what? We are all sacrificing a lot. Okay. This ought to be a time when probably you are spending with your loved ones, right? And but what? You are here for something. And so you need to be able to see the big picture. And okay, I want you what? I want your mind to start opening up, right? To start seeing the big picture because when you see the big picture, right? When you see where you are going to, if you can imagine the end from the beginning, then you are going to achieve it, right? So let's look at something here. Let's look at a couple of job descriptions and look at where Terraform comes to the picture. Um, Prof, I said, "Oh my God, were you the one? Were you the one on that call? It looks like maybe you were the one, right?" Okay. But I mean, it was a very sweet call, and yeah, yep, yep, yep. There's one thing. Never. Okay, let's look at this job, for example. It's a remote job, right? See that? And yeah, so if you're in Atlanta, somewhere like Ruth, you should actually be considering this one. And you can see that this is what, see that? Up to 100. I just told my kids that money is coming. Yeah. Up to what? See that? 95 what? 95,000 to $164,000 a year. This is chicken change now. Know what I mean? Just imagine, right? Now, of course, this is a full-time role, but I want us to look at the description here, right? Because first thing what you want to understand is that money real? See that small minds don't think that big things are real, but yes, it's real, right? See, speak big, okay? Don't talk small because if you talk small, you remain small, all right? Okay, compare this. I know. Maybe at the end of the month, you look at your account or you look at your. Most of you in Cameroon don't even have accounts. Most of you have what is that? You have mobile money, so you can easily check your balance. Sometimes you see your balance is if you say if you say most people in Cameroon don't have balances up to 2 million in their move balance. Sometimes they have a balance of 5,000. Sometimes they even have to borrow the data from MTN. And then when money enters the Momo, MTN automatically deduct the money, which is good though. Okay, but let's be serious here, right? So of course, what look at so now what as DevOps engineers, we are working for companies, right? And these companies have uh, business logics, so they are solving problems, okay, for different organizations. So you look at here, happy return software and what reverse logistics to offer what to offer shoppers genuinely what delightful experience. So, but let's see here, your day to day. This is what? So this is a day to day of a DevOps engineer. And so this is where you start what? Start asking yourself the question, okay, do I have this? He says what? First, collaborate on, see that? Collaborate. So this is where I keep talking about collaboration, right? Collaboration. And of course, what? Infrastructure as code offers what? Collaboration. So now, follow me and Terraform are all the same thing. Okay, but Terraform is widely accepted. If we look at, the number one choice on infrastructure as code tool in the software industry, or in the tech industry, right, is Terraform. However, some teams, okay, high technical teams can what? They can also use Pulumi. Now it says what? Collaborate and what? Deploy cloud infrastructure on what? AWS using what? Using infrastructure as code, Terraform or Pulumi. That is secure, scalable, and highly what? Available. Yeah. Don't ask what is Pulumi, you can what? You can Google it. Okay. Our class is focused on Terraform for now. Okay. Ignore Pulumi. Master Terraform first. Okay. Take it what? One step at a time. Okay. So now, when you hear about the word collaborate on and deploy cloud infrastructure on AWS, what comes to your mind? So then what? We are doing job analysis. Okay. So this is what? Terraform what? Terraform role analysis. So what does this mean? Okay. To collaborate. Okay. Collaborate on and deploy cloud infrastructure. Yeah. Thank you so much. Therefore what? Collaboration. What are we going to use it for collaboration? Collaboration, we use what? Collaboration. So we use Git. Collaboration, we use what? We use Git. But now what? Let's speak now as advanced, as individuals being mentored by Prof. Prince. We use Git. What is that Git process that enhances collaboration? What's the Git? Like, how do we collaborate on Git? No, Sonari? Nope, 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 nope. Oh, wow, James. Thank you so much. Google Pixel. It's right. Is pull request. See that? Therefore what? So this is where the collaboration comes in. Because see, I can what? So let me ask you a question. If I push directly, okay, to master branch, okay, is that collaboration? See that? That's a collaboration. Like, I mean, if what? If my code is able to carry out the action without the review of others on my team, gentlemen and ladies, that is not collaboration, right? That's autonomy. And you cannot succeed in any tech role, from an autonomous perspective. It's like you're a robot, right? Even robot collaborates, okay? Yeah, that's the only difference between robot and human beings. Is that what? Is that humans collaborate, but robots don't collaborate. Okay. One second, okay? Let me check my kit. When you have kids, any banking you hear, you have to follow up and investigate what's happening because, you know, in the blink of an eye, a lot can change. Okay. So now it says what? Collaborate on and what? Deploy what? Cloud infrastructure on AWS, right? It's the first thing. So now we're talking about that. For collaboration, we're using what? We're using Git, but what? Not just Git, but what? Git and what? Pull requests. And what? And pull requests. And so what? Git is what? Git here is our what? Our distributed what? Distributed versions control, okay, system. And what? Pull requests for what? Yeah. Pull what? Pull requests for collaboration and what? and code reviews. Now, I want what? I want you to underline this. Pull request enables what? Collaboration and code review. So therefore, if you see on any job description, collaborate on, we are what? We are collaborating because we are using Git, okay, for versions control. How is that collaboration implemented? We what? We use pull requests, okay? So what? We initiate merge request or review request using what? Using pull. Is it clear? So therefore what? We see what? So this what? This is how you interpret job description. Now what? The next thing, of course, what? Is to deploy what? Deploy cloud infrastructure, right? See that? So what? One statement, deploy what? Cloud infrastructure. So interview question, they're going to ask you, what? What AWS services, okay, have you what? Have you used in your projects? Or what? Or what is your experience with what? With AWS infrastructure. See that there? So now let's answer this question. In terms of infrastructure, what comes to our mind? Let's see. What AWS services will you say you have experience with? That's the question we are asking, right? Thank you. So when we talk about AWS, okay, AWS services, we can talk about what? Talk about compute. See that? So now I'm not just talking about, EC2 what? So EC2 falls under the category of compute. Make sense? Now what we can talk about? Now you can talk about, EC2, right? You can say Lambda, okay? And what? You can talk about EKS cluster. For the sake of, simplification, that's what? Let's say EC2, okay? Therefore what? This is compute, right? Next one, okay? Storage. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm recording now. So when you see on the meeting, you see the red, right, is blinking. It means that the class is recording, okay? So instead of asking and distracting me, you can what? You can check. You can for check, okay? So again, what? Let's say we talk about storage and then networking. See that this is what? So we are going to talk about networking next week because what? We use Terraform to create our networking environment in the cloud. So in terms of what are we deploying in the cloud? Like, we are answering this question, right? In terms of what? Deploy what? Deploy cloud infrastructure. Let me ask you a question. Is this exercise helpful? Right? Do you find this helpful? Okay. So, see that? Now, what? The job discloses what? You have to what? You have to deploy cloud infrastructure using infrastructure as code. So now let me ask you a question. If we were not using infrastructure as code, how are we going to deploy this infrastructure? All right. So first what? Let's just limit to these three, right? So we have this. Here what? Storage. We what? Can talk about S3, isn't it? And what? And EBS volume. Networking, VPC. What is VPC? Right? VPC Okay. Again, what? VPN. Okay. Let's put a comma so it doesn't look like it's one thing. Okay. Then what? Again, what? Route 53. Please pay attention to all what I'm talking about here. So, of course, what? Oh, 1 second. VPC what? VPC stands for Virtual Private Cloud. Storage. This is what? So, this are infrastructure. So, now the next you're going to be asking yourself now is, do companies just deploy this for the sake of deploying them, or how are these services satisfying the company's business logic? You get that? Hmm. So that becomes the next question. And so these are questions that we answer when we are doing or talking about infrastructure planning. So we don't just say, yep, we are going to use VPN unless we have discussed over and over, looked at alternatives and say, yeah, you know what? We surely are going to need, VPN. And one last thing, please don't forget to complete the attendance form, the class, because what? We use that to control access to Telegram. You know what I mean? So if we run your name and we don't see you attend the class, we remove you from the Telegram channel. You know what I mean? And yeah, because it doesn't make sense. It means that you're not active. You're not coming to class. Yeah, I mean, for over 2 months, we don't consider you a student, right? So we remove you for peace to reign. So now, of course, what? So these are what? These are examples of cloud infrastructure, right? Just a few. Now, of course, what? We can also add databases, right? Let's add what? Oops. So we can add data what? Databases here. See that? Data, okay? Basis. Okay. Databases. Yeah. So now, of course, some what? So we're talking about, wait, 1 second. Let's go back here. Okay. Yeah, you know. Yeah. Change layout. No. Anyways, let's do what? Databases, right? So we can say what? Data what? Databases. So we're talking about what? About RDS, right? My secure. But what? Let's what? Let's limit this to just these three. Okay? You know what? About our EC2. These are what? So we refer to them as resources or as infrastructure, isn't it? And then we have storage, S3 bucket and EBS. What's the difference between S3 and EBS? What's the difference? Based on what you know. S3 bucket and EBS, what's the difference between the two? Okay. That's what. Let's take, thank you so much there. One is what? One is object storage and what? The other one is what? Is storage and volume. And of course, is what is attached to EC2 instances attached to compute resources. Okay. The reason why I'm asking you all of this is what, because what, I will not be surprised if by the end of week 12, some of you are hired. right, from this course. Because we don't just, teach but what? We are contextualizing and making sure that it sinks, right? That what you're learning is sinking, okay? So the first line in that says what? Collaborate on and deploy what? Cloud infrastructure. And what? It did not mention the deploy what? Deploy EC2, VPC, RDS, right? Now what? You are now supposed to answer the question, what cloud infrastructure, right? See, what cloud infrastructure am I deploying using what? Using Terraform. Is it clear? But the goal what? Is to collaborate on and deploy what? Cloud infrastructure. So now you could be asked this question now in what? In a technical interview. Because what? Let me give you what? The interview process. Interview what? Interview process for tech jobs. Most tech jobs, right? Including DevOps and all of that. So this is how the process looks like. So, okay. First one. So you're going to have an introductory call. Intro what? Introductory contact. Okay. So this could be, on LinkedIn or what? Or a direct phone call. So this could be maybe, well, okay, let's say you've applied for a job. They've seen your resume and they believe that probably you have the skills for this job, right? So now they are going to contact you on LinkedIn. If you are on LinkedIn, sometimes without even applying, right? You always have, you have recruiters who are just canvassing LinkedIn for skills or for professionals, right? So they contact you like that. So, or they give you what? A direct phone call. The next one, of course, what is first interview, right? First interview is often what? Often very basic. The what? The interview what? Learns about you, right? So let me remove this one because I want to leave just one here so we can cut this. So of course what? It's more what? More about yourself. You are so first interview learn what? You learn, okay, about the company and what? And the company learns about you. So this first interview what is often what done by HR. And this is where you want to be very careful. When you hear them ask you, oh, what is your expected salary? What is our notice period? Hey, see, this is so important, eh? What I'm teaching now is so important, okay? So now what? They're asking you this question. It's HR. And what? HR is recording this conversation because what? After the next stage of the interview, if the team likes you, they what? The HR needs to offer you what? A letter. So that offer letter is going to what? Contain information that had been collected by the HR, right? So this interview is often what? Not technical. It's just like getting to know you. Okay. So now I tell them, oh yeah, my name is Dennis, and I'm a DevOps engineer with Rent Nexus Canada. We are a SaaS platform building and supporting thousands of landlords across Africa. And I'm the infrastructure engineer on the team. I am supporting close to 8 different teams with infrastructure provisioning and decommissioning across our different environments. And I've been able to implement a strict collaboration procedure in our environment where everything is gathered through an infrastructure pipeline. The entire team got to collaborate and make the decisions on whether to merge a particular change or not. Everything goes through a pull request, right? Now, all of that you're explaining doesn't make any sense to an HR professional, right? Like, he or she just glad out, that you are speaking. Someone is a perfect intro, right? Yeah. So you introduce a company you work for. You give very one-liner, right, of what you do and all of that, and what you're looking at for. So now they may ask you, okay, why are you leaving rent next to? So why you can say, yeah, my contract is coming to an end, by the end of the month. So I'm looking for the next challenge. Exactly. Something like that. Or you can say, oh yeah, the company now requires me to come to the office 5 days a week, but I'm not able to do that. So I'm looking for, my next opportunity. I enjoy working remotely. See that? Period. Now, of course, what? If the job you are going for says 100% remote, right? See that? So what? Now it makes sense. But if the job says it's on site, you cannot be saying that the reason why you are leaving that job is because they want you to come on site. And the job you are applying for is an on-site job. Makes no sense. This is why you must what? You must read the job description word by word. Understand every word in it. How many of you know that the job description is a legal document? Many of you didn't know, right? A what? A job description, not a job offer. A job description is what? It's a legal document. So it's a very serious thing, right? Everything you see there is serious. So when you see that, that's why they can what? They can say, no, what? No, yeah, so we are firing you because what? You've not been able to implement what? Yeah, our understanding on this is very poor. You've been able to just create stuff without collaboration, and what that's a very very big risk. And so what we will not be continuing this contract. The contract ends there. So what that becomes what a document that is going to be used. Okay, that one that is used to judge your performance. So it becomes so important, right, to understand that. Okay, so that is the first one, right? So now, so you see how we've been able to break this first requirement only. This what? This first requirement. Collaborate. How are we collaborating? Right? See that? So in here, what are the tech stack? Oh, sorry, I was talking about the interview process. So the first category is that introductory call. Sometimes just a text message, okay, or a chat on LinkedIn, right, or email. Then what? A call is scheduled. You have your first interview. It is not often a technical interview. It's what's often okay. Who are you? So they're going to ask you a question like, okay, are you available to work online? Do you like, are you able to come to the office once a week? What is your expected salary? Right. So they're asking you all these questions to determine whether or not they can move to the next step or not. Right. No. Now you have what? So now you have technical interviews, right? Technical what? Interviews. So here, of course, what? You're what? You're meeting what? You are meeting with the team. You're meeting what? You are meeting with what? With your future team. So how can I explain this? So just imagine like, okay, I'm the team lead, right? Okay, Prof. Prince, team lead. And you are coming for me to interview to assess whether you understand what is Terraform, whether what you understand what it means to what is scalability, and how do you implement security in your environment. These are all technical questions. So the HR is not asking you that question, right? Because it's not their field, right? They are more business inclined professionals. But now what? You're meeting with somebody from the tech team. Okay. So sometimes you have first what? So yeah, what? Yeah, this interview is often around like sometimes one or what? Or two. If you go for the first interview, let's say you meet with me, I talk with you. I'm like, you know what? No, 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 no. Then this is very deep. Okay. I like you to meet a team. It means that what? You're what? You are moving very fast towards your offer letter. Okay. But if you meet with me, I'm like, yeah, you know what? You will hear from us. And you don't hear, you know. And of course, what? You don't get anything from us. It means that what? We have moved on to different candidates, right? Like that. So you can pass your first non-technical interview, but what? You can fail your technical interviews. Okay. So of course, so now what happens in technical interviews? You what? You are selling your skills. Okay, you what? You are telling them, okay, you know, how good you are with what, with cloud. Or come on, I have 3 years experience deploying what? Deploying, scaling, and securing infrastructure in the cloud using what? Using Terraform. Secure, scale, and provision. Right? You understand? So now I'm going to ask you, how do you do that? So now you can get a question that, okay, imagine I want you to what? I want you to deploy an EC2 instance in the cloud, in AWS cloud, and you have all the requirements already. Walk me through how you are going to go through that, right? I'll say, okay, yeah. So in this case, in my environment, this is something I do on a regular basis. However, I am not a one-man's army. I work in a team, so this has to be done through collaboration. So assuming that I already have my repository, I'm going to start the local Git repository or create the repository with the README, readme.md, git ignore file, all of that, clone the repository, and what? And create my Terraform folder. In this case, I'll call the folder Terraform what? Terraform EC2, maybe mtn dev. That means that I am what? I am provisioning what? An EC2 instance using Terraform for MTN, but not only for MTN, but what? MTN dev. But now let's imagine that what? That this was MTN Lagos. Therefore, I'll do what? I'll do EC2 Terraform Lagos MTN, okay? Lagos dev. So here's one is for the Lagos environment. It's what? It's for the Lagos client. But again, what? It's for the dev environment. See that? So this is what we call naming conventions or nomenclatures, right? Every environment is different. Okay. So you see how I am explaining this. See that? And then of course what? I'll cd into that folder. I'll create what? My Terraform configurations files. Main.tf, variables.tf, all of that, all of that. Okay, and then what? I will configure my files, I will define my resources, define all the variables and all of that. Then what? I'm going to test it locally, and then I will start the Git process, run Git init, I'll do Git status, I'll do Git add, I'll create a feature branch, I will switch that branch because what? I need my team to review my code, to collaborate. Now what? See that? Therefore what? See the what? The therefore what? The interviewer now what? Is nodding his head. Why? Because what? This is what he was looking out for. Because what? There is danger in no collaboration. Okay? There is danger in no collaboration. How many of you agree that even in real life, okay, there is danger when people don't collaborate, right? Even in the jobs that you do at the moment, right? Okay, there is danger if you don't collaborate, right? Therefore, what? So you can explain everything correctly, but if you miss that word, collaborate, it becomes what? A big issue because what? Now, even in their job description, They have that what? They have that as the first. See that? And if you look at how many times the word collaborate is used in this job description, this is what? This is how you also what? Analyze job descriptions, right? How many times a particular word is used. Hmm? So we also, oh, I deploy this, I deploy that, I deploy that, I deploy that, I manage this, I manage that. Somebody said some people's greatest enemy is the word I. I, I. Right? No, that's what? That's not DevOps. DevOps is what? It's all about collaboration. Mhm. There's a one man's army. Hmm? Me and mine. Okay. See that? Now again what? So now we understand what this means, right? Highly available means what? It means that if you were deploying your application in the Northwest region or deploying your infrastructure in the Northwest region of Cameroon. Can you guys all hear me? I think, yeah, right? So if you are deploying in the Northwest region, Northwest has 7 regions. You want to what? You want to deploy a highly available infrastructure. Therefore, what? In this case, you what? You are not just, concentrating your infrastructure, what? Maybe in Combo, right? You want to what? You want to spread across all the 7 regions. That's what's called high availability. So let's take what? A very good case of transformers. Oh, transformer is bad here, transformer is bad there, there's no light. Yeah. All this, when I hear this thing, I'm like, oh, God, when shall we, when? No, no, like, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense because what? We can make it highly available. So you can make sure that that one transformer in Northwest can what, supply the whole, in fact, one region. So let's say Combo can what, supply the whole of Northwest. Mezam can supply what, the whole of Northwest. So if the Mezam transformer was down, it's no big deal, right? We what? We can fall onto, the what? The supply from Combo, from Momo, right? And all of that. That's what's called what? Highly what? Scalable. So we're not just deploying in one region, but what deploying in several regions, right? Scalability now looks at movements. How easy can we move from one transformer to 10 transformer? And how easily can we move from 10 to 1, right? Of course, in this particular scenario, we can't do that, but in cloud computing, we can what? We can scale. We saw this with a service called what? Auto scaling group, right? See that? Auto scaling group. So just in this one description, what can we deduce from here? Look at something. Okay, great. So you see how you break down job descriptions, right? Okay. So what? It's not just a read, and I'm done. No, no, you have to what? You have to think through it. Because the moment you think through it and you understand, and of course, what? This is what we do at the end of your training. We look at how you present yourself, how you dissect and digest job descriptions. Trust me, if you were to go for this without this analysis, right, you will not know, oh, this is a very, very, you could focus only on this one, requirement and get a job even. Yeah, that becomes what you can do very well, period. Right? You can do that very well. And that is DevOps, right? Is it clear? And what is it? Is it very clear? Right? So if you look at it says what? Highly what? Available. So look at high availability. How do we implement what? So, okay, let's what? Conclude what? This one, right? Technical in terms of what? So you have meet with the team, and then sometimes what? You meet with the technical director. You what technical what? Technical. Director or what? Oh, director of DevOps. Oh, yeah, some big person in the company now is going to welcome you. And then what? And then you meet again what? You meet again with HR. Again, what? Final what? Final offer or what? Job offer from what? From HR. So now in this call, we what? We are simply, confirming what we discussed in the first interview. So consistency becomes so important. So you can't say, oh, you're leaving because your contract was coming to an end, and now you say, oh no, I'm leaving because my boss doesn't like me. You know what I mean? Those are contradictory. So you need to be very, very consistent into that one. Okay? Make sense? Or how do we answer the question of your expected payment? So the good thing with what? With tech job is that there is no ambiguity, isn't it? Look at something. This what? So this company has already what? Mentioned that they're paying how much? Okay? So this is how much they are paying. One second. Where is that stuff then? Hmm. Restore. Okay. One second. Okay. Let me see. I have this stuff somewhere. Okay. So this one is still in the United States. This is a company called Frontline Education. And what? It's a core tech what? See that core tech platform they're paying 91,000 to what? 126,000. And what, see that? Yeah, yeah. Now, remember how I spoke about pipeline in the introduction, right? You can see the word what? The word pipeline. Yeah. But I'll go forward. You see YAML. Okay. And let's see if there's. So this one doesn't look like it's. Oh, yeah. Code, see that? Participate what? Participate in what? Code, design, and product reviews to what? To uphold quality standards and encourage what? Best practices. Okay. Don't worry. Oh, yeah. There you go. See that? It says what? Troubleshoot within what? Okay. This is within GCP. The other one was within AWS. I don't know why I did not copy the whole thing. Anyways, that's fine, right? But let's go back one second. I think I know where that stuff was. I can check it. This one. Ah. Hmm. No, that's not the one I'm looking for. I'm looking for something else. Route Terraform jobs, blah, 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 blah. And indeed, you can view this job on Indeed. Let's see. Anyways, right? Hmm. I think it is one. Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, I've seen it. Okay, I've seen it. So it's this one. I'm putting the link in the chat for now so that I will not be mistaken and see. So is what is this one, right? So is this one and is oops, one second. Wait. Yeah, it was happy returns. So is okay. Anyway, so but you understand what I'm talking about, right? So now if you look at this, I'll just copy the whole thing, okay? I'm seeing it on this other screen, but I don't know why. This was happy returns. Oh yeah, this is okay. There we go. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, this one. Oh yeah. Oh, it was even showing there. Okay, see that? So you can see, right? It says what? There we go. See that? So now you can see. So we have what? That is secure, scalable, and what? And highly available. So you see why we cannot discuss DevOps without cloud or security without cloud and without DevOps. You see that? That's it. That's why we had to what? We had to quickly adjust this lagos because you cannot, right? Now I talk about what? Secure. So now the question is, how do you secure? See that? Okay, how do you secure? Let me ask you a question now. On the EC2 level, for example, how do we secure? See that? So on the EC2, how do we implement security on the EC2 level? Or let's make it even easy. Yeah, security groups, that's fine. Now let's make it let's limit it to storage, for example, right? The storage makes sense. See that? Secure. So you see how we take what? One element, one duty, and we are analyzing it, right? Okay. How do you act? How do you implement security in your cloud environment? See that? And let's do a snapshot here. So if we see that, now let's do what? Let's do EC2 here. And again, what? We do, okay, S3. And again, what? We do EBS here. See that? Now what? So if I was to answer this question, you must what? You must pick a service and explain how you implement security. Hmm? Okay, great. Let's start by EC2. And of course, what? Somebody already mentioned what? Security group, yeah? But of course, what? That's what we're talking about, right? I know we haven't looked at this, but of course, what? Your first security in the cloud is what? Is VPC. When it comes to compute, of course, what? Your EC2 must what? Must reside within what? Within a virtual private cloud. So we already explained that there are two types of cloud, right? We have the public cloud that's available by default in each region. But now at the company environment that we are seeing in this particular company, right? We cannot just lay our server in the public cloud, right? It has to what? It has to have its own cloud. So you would then define components like, subnet, the private public subnet, right? We define components like route tables, NAT gateways. Of course, what? Next week, we are going to what? We are going to focus more on VPC, right? Yeah, you're going to see. So what? We don't just deploy our servers in the public cloud, right? It needs to sit in its own cloud. Okay. Therefore, what? Virtual private cloud is, of course, what? It's also what? One of the tools that we use to implement security. Because how is that secure? Very, very important. First, what? You want to define your own network. Because now, when you go to security group, when you are defining the inbound, right? You what? You won't just be defining inbound to allow traffic from everywhere you what? You align what? Traffic from specific networks. And what? That network is defined from your VPC, subnet, and okay, public what? And private subnet. Those because what? The sources. This explains why when you say working for a company, right there, what? They onboard you and what? They grant you access to their VPN. Okay, the company's VPN. And without that VPN on, you what? You cannot access anything in their environment. Let me ask you, is that security or scalability? What comes to your mind? So if you were to implement that, would that be security or that would be scalability? Mhm. Very, very important. So now you see how we are. So now you see how we are contextualizing everything, right? Exactly. So now, of course, what? On the EC2 level, we have what? We have access, okay, control this, network. And then on the S3 level, we have what? We have network. What's the difference? Network access control and what? And access control is. See that? Access what? Access control list. Very, very important. Then what? Now again, what? Again, your S3 also what? Is also going to sit in your virtual private cloud. Your ABS again, what? Sitting here. So when we look at VPC, you understand what I'm talking about here. But of course, what this is so to be explained. Now, if you notice, right, when you are also creating what an S3 bucket, I mean an ECL to what you have to define what? Your security what? Security group. In creating security group, you must what? You must also define the network. Okay. So again, what? Everything falls within VPC. See that? Very, very important. Again, what? Another security practice here. We use what? We use KMS here, right? KMS. What is KMS? What is KMS? We spoke about this, right? What is KMS? What is the full meaning of KMS? And what is it used for? Okay. Something called what? Something called encryption, right? Yep, thank you. It's called what? Encryption. Oh boy. Okay, I hope you are paying attention. So what? Now this what? This is week 7. And moving forward is serious business. Okay? Very, very serious. This is the stage where you define your destiny. And that's why I'm opening this floodgate so you can start seeing the implications of what you are studying. Make sense? So of course what? We have what? We have encryption. Again, what? We are talking security. There are two types here, right? We have what? At rest and in what? In transit, isn't it? The same thing. So again, what? The same thing there. And even, yeah, with secure. Can we? Yes, yes, yes. We can what? Yep, that makes sense. We can what? We can add IAM for sure. We can add IAM, right? We can add what? So we can add. I don't know why this thing is not showing this damn thing. Okay, but 1 second. Delete. We have what? Yeah. So we can add what? We can add IAM for sure, right? IAM. So now we are going to be now of course after what? Now you have to explain what IAM services are used for what? To implement security. That's what this should be the first one actually, right? So we have what? We have IAM, but do you notice that IAM can what? Of course, what? It's used to control what? Security on EC2, security what in S3 bucket, security on ABL, and of course what? Security in IAM service itself. So yes, it makes sense, right? That should be number one. See that? That should be, I agree, 100%. So you see, so now what? The question now is, what are the scenarios, right? Of course, what? First, you define what your networking environment in the cloud by what? By defining your VPC. We'll look at this next week. I mean, yeah, if not, yeah, next week, okay? And then once you define that, every other thing what falls in that VPC. So all the services like EC2, S3, EBS, and of course, what IAM is a very very unique service. So what it defines who has access to what, right? So we use IAM features like what? IAM user, IAM groups, IAM policies, IAM roles, okay, and all of that to define access. And of course, what? All of this is aimed at what? At implementing security. Now, I don't want to go too far, but do you now see do you now see how one thing interconnects everything that we have been discussing so far? Right? Is it clear? I don't know if you are scared now, and I don't know if you are fired up. If you are scared, type one. If you are encouraged, type two. Right? But of course, what? So this is the length and depth of what you are. Okay, so we say 1.5. Okay. Yeah, but of course, what? So this is the importance of mastering what we are teaching this week. Okay. So see that what? Now you see that Terraform what? Again is all to the cloud. But the perspectives, the scenarios, the application, and the processes is what is most important. Okay? You must understand the scenarios. It's not just used in isolation. It's used by real companies, and there are real consequences for every action that takes place in the cloud. Okay? Is it clear? Do you think we should take a break now? Okay? Isn't it? I think yeah, we should take yeah, I'll give you guys a 15 minutes break because yeah, then what? Come back. Then what? We're then going to introduce what is Terraform. Do I even need to say introduce that? Or we are good? All right. Yeah, I think I should, right? So, of course, you don't need to rush, okay? So don't worry. Hands on is coming, okay? But for now, let's what? Understand the foundation, right? The foundation. And of course, what? We do the introduction and we close for today. Make sure what? Please don't come to class tomorrow without what? Without having gone over this video of today because what? It is foundational to what we're going to be doing tomorrow and next week. Because what? Moving forward, everything is going to be hands-on. But it is important that you understand the theoretical framework behind Terraform, what Terraform is important and how it comes across, everything that we're going to be studying moving forward. Okay. All right. So let's take a 15 minutes break. Okay. I want to stretch and then I'll be right back. And then what? We move into looking at, okay, what is Terraform? And if that we can what? We can create our first Terraform code and look at how it looks like in real. But of course, what today's class is more of laying the foundation. And once you understand the why Terraform, what are the issues, what are the challenges that Terraform is introducing? The next thing is the how, right? How is Terraform used across different teams, different companies, and different projects? That application is different, right? It's not static, right? So the way MT uses Terraform is not the same way the team, maybe on the Orange project, are gonna use Terraform, right? That's why anything you tell them, as long as it makes sense, they cannot judge you because okay. But what? But you can't say that Terraform is used to provision resources manually. Okay, that's just a no, no, no. Okay, you don't know what you're talking about. Business. Let's take a break. It's going to be a 15 minutes break. We'll come back. We are going to introduce our Terraform, and that's how we keep rocking.